Alright, so I just had a couple of announcements just before I say a quick little message. If any of you have not been able to sign up, could you please go over there after Sheriff Hightower is finished speaking to sign up just to get the hours through. And I would also like to extend my gratitude and thanks to a couple of people. First of all of you all for helping me with this project. It's a really big help, and without you all, of course, I wouldn't be able to get my Eagle Scout, so I thank you all a lot. Secondly, I'd like to thank Miss Kathy Maroney. I don't think she's here right now, but she is one of the head people of the cemetery, and she's been very gracious enough to allow us to come and volunteer for her, and she's helped me through every step of the process. So let's see, I also like to thank Sheriff Hightower for coming and giving us a short little message about his experience being a veteran and taking time out of his day. And lastly, I'd like to thank my family and my mom for helping me through this process. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about why I chose this project. So I decided to clean the tombstones of deceased veterans who bravely served our country, as well as attempt to upload as many pictures of the finished tombstones to a genealogy app for people that aren't in Bowling Green to see across the country. So throughout my life, I've personally seen the sacrifice and devotion. Much of my family has been in the military, and some of them have even gotten injured. My dad, my grandfather, 3 of my uncles. So there's a bunch of people that have been in the military, and I see the sacrifice, and I'm very grateful for everything that they've been able to give us. And by coming up with this project, I was able to give back to these heroic veterans in any way that I could. I've always tried to look for some way. My brother, I know, has done a couple of projects in his school, and I wanted to do something to also help these veterans. So let's see, before I hand the time over to Sheriff Hightower, could everyone, after he is done speaking, please stick around for a minute or two just so we can get a group picture. And I thank you again, everyone, for coming out, and please welcome Sheriff Hightower.
Well, I really do appreciate this opportunity to come out here and briefly address you all. It just warms my heart to see the projects that are going on within this community. And looking back and paying just some honor to those that have served in the capacity of their military values and serving this country and this community, and for these young men to come out today to do what they're doing, it's very admirable. But I want to talk briefly. I was asked to talk about my military service, and I was actually a junior at Western Kentucky University in 1989. I grew up in a home that it was kind of expected that you would go from high school to college, and I really didn't question that at the time. But about my junior year of college, I just always had this longing, this desire to serve my country in a larger capacity. And so I went to the Marine Corps recruiters office here, and within a few hours, basically, at first I walked in, it was kind of funny. They said, "Oh, you getting ready to graduate high school?" I said, "No, I'm in college." And they said, "Well, yeah, a lot of folks, college is hard." And I said, "No, I got about a 3-something." And they're like, "Well, son, sit down." They were ready to get me signed up. So when I went home for Christmas that year, I was talking to my mom, and she said, "Well, this summer you're gonna." And I said, "No, I'm not, Mom." She said, "What do you mean you're not going to?" I said, "Well, I joined the Marines." They didn't go over so well, and I don't recommend that for any of you all here today. But it kind of led the path of just of a lot of interesting pathways and a lot of excitement, and so I had joined the Marine Reserves. I did some active duty time, did some time in the Marine Reserves, and I got hired on here with Bowling Green. And I kind of started that pathway. I started a family, and I had my first daughter was already born, and September 11th, 2001 came around. I wasn't very far from here, and I was in a training class. I was a Bowling Green police officer, and when I saw what was unfolding, and it was just a surreal moment in time. And I think each of you all who are old enough and can remember that, you can remember exactly where you were and the thoughts that were going through your mind that day, because it really was something else we've never seen historically. When the plane stopped flying overhead, and so I went home that night, and I sat down and talked to my wife. We had been talking about having a second child, and we knew this was going to change the course of history for us, our family. We knew the country as well, but we knew specifically it was going to change the course of our lives. And we knew, me being in the military, that there was going to be a sacrifice, there was going to be a cost of this. The one thing we decided on that night was that it wasn't going to stop us from living our lives. It wasn't going to stop us. So we decided we would move forward with having a second child. In September of 24th of 2002, my second daughter was born. 3 weeks later, I was deployed. I went to Bosnia. I spent her whole first year pretty much in Bosnia on that deployment. It was the S4 mission. And so I came back from that. A few years later, I was selected as an embedded trainer for the training the Afghan police. So I was deployed again and spent nearly a year over in Afghanistan. August the 16th of 2008, I was in a firefight with 2 enemy fighters, probably from here to that post over there. And it didn't end well for any of us that day. I ended up getting severely injured, medevaced out of the field, spent nearly the next 2 years going to different doctors and having facial reconstructions done. I wasn't always as pretty. Okay? So, the doctors did wonders. But you know, there's always a sacrifice. And when we choose to serve our community and our country, there's a sacrifice to that. And I tell you, on September the 11th, when they attacked those 2 buildings, you know, that they shook those buildings. But I can tell you, they did not shake the cornerstone of this country. And when, as horrific as September 11th was, I look back and say, remember September 12th? Remember the way this nation came together? Remember how it didn't matter? We didn't have a racial divide. We didn't have people pointing fingers at one another. We came hand in hand with one another with one fight. Kind of like if you have a sibling, you know, you can pick on that sibling all the time, but if somebody else does, look, the fight's on. And the fight was on. And it was just beautiful how this country united on September 12th together, one nation under God, you know, indivisible. And that's what we did. We stood arm in arm, hand in hand, and the cornerstone of this nation is God. And so, you know, they might rock a building, they may do other things, and we still face those same dangers today. We can't go blind to that fact. But I believe that as young men and women today, like these young men here that are serving their community, I don't fear for the future, because I know we're in good hands. When you have young men that are coming out today, they're doing what they're doing and sacrificing the time. They're not sitting home watching cartoons. They're not sitting home doing things around the house, and they're focused on community. They're focused on other people. So I feel very comfortable knowing that with community and groups like this, that our future is in good hands. And as long as we can continue to look at that cornerstone and know what's holding this country together, I feel rest assured. So thank you once again for everything you've done today. I thank you all for what you all have done today, and I appreciate this opportunity just to address you. Thank you so much.